Okay, so before we continue working on this side, we're just going to sort out this area here. So if we just jump back into Photoshop, so we can see to do this bit here, if we have a point here, point here, a point here, point here and a point here, you should see that would nicely make up this section but also be quadded. So that's what we want to aim for with this. So if we just jump into vertex mode and use the merge vertex tool to bring those down, and then we'll delete this edge here, delete this edge here, you can see we've got a nicely kind of quadded section on that bit. So it's always worth coming into your mesh and just like cleaning some stuff up before you move on to the next section. So we go, we've got a nice straight section on that now, and let's also make sure that lines up completely with the model here. So I want to do the same on this as well. Sorry, not with the model, with the plan. Yeah, so that's a much kind of nice, cleaner way of doing that section. So obviously some of this stuff can sometimes be kind of quite hard to make out, but you can soon tell if you just use your brain a bit. Like that. So you see the way I'm just making sure that this all lines up. So this edge should be nice and straight. You can see that, those two connect there. And these two verts as well should be nice and straight. Okay, so the next thing we'll move on to then, I'm kind of happy. So now we're happier with that area, we can move on to doing the wheel over here. So one thing is we want to follow a similar kind of topology on this area here. So if we jump back into Photoshop, we can see the most kind of basic topology we can do for that is basically the same as we've done on the other side, like so. So this is the kind of thing we want to achieve with that little area there. And again, we can see it kind of nicely marked on our plan. So what we might want to do is just quickly kind of slide this up to here. Just make sure that these two verts are also kind of positioned as we want. Just go along and make sure that all your other vertices are kind of nicely placed. And then what we'll do is we'll select the shape here and just make our initial extrusion. So remember to extrude out and just go straight into scale mode and scale this up. Then if we jump into our top view, remember we'll want to pull this back somewhat. So I might just deselect some of these edges. Let's go straight to work on pulling these back. I think actually as I look at this I've probably taken it up to the wrong line here. It's probably more likely to be this one on the plan. Like, we can certainly see that, like, depending on, so what I might do is to just pull these out, just line these up to this here. So maybe if I just snap that straight onto there actually, and snap that onto there as well, then we can really kind of see what we need to do with this. So again, snap this on that axis onto there. So let's just hide this object here. Obviously this is where it can get a little bit harder to kind of line stuff up with your plans. The key really is just not to lose kind of patience with it. The more effort you put in, the better this will look, the more accurate this will be. So I'll bring back those other shapes into the scene. Another thing we might want to do here is pull some of these out just to line up with this here. So it's quite a lot of verts we're messing around with all at once. So we're definitely going to have to do some editing. I'm using a lot of snaps here, so just holding V and picking one axis and going along there, because I know that later on that's going to be required anyway. Just keeping that a nice straight line. We're also going to have to cut this area in here as well. Okay, so let's have a look at that from a angle up here. Okay, so this bit's looking nice. Obviously we need to tweak this bit though. So what we want is what we drew onto our plan earlier. So if we use our multi-cut tool, we'll cut there down to there. Maybe just to there for now. Go to vertex mode and use the merge vertex tool. Let's merge that down, and then we'll, to make this a bit easier, we'll actually just combine these two models together. So just select both models and go to combine, which is also in modify, mesh combine here. And now we can use the merge vertex to center command and just use G to repeat that. And there we go, that's looking a lot better now. So again, we'll merge this onto here, and maybe this onto there, and then just pull these up. We're going to add another loop in here, but I'm just making sure it needs to come up to about there. In fact, we'll leave a loop out, we'll bring this down a bit. That's okay, I think. Okay, so you can see now we've got that nice edge flow as we did on that one over there. And you can always detach these if you want to, but we'll probably end up adding a loop in down here anyway for some extra detail. It's worth checking on your perspective view how that's looking now though as well. Let's just soften these edges off as well. Okay, yes, that's looking pretty good. Like we got probably a little tweak to the shape we can make here, but for now we can kind of leave that as is. That's looking pretty nice. So we've got everything nicely quadded. One little difference you could do is instead of having this in here, you could just push through that object. So this could actually just be a push through object rather than actually being cut in. Next thing we'll do then is say select up to around here and we'll extrude that out. And just pull this up to about here, so we're going to do this line next. And again on this view use scale just to maybe scale that in. We can see that's got to go up to this line here. So I guess we'll fix it up on this view first. So maybe just use V just to snap that to it. And obviously we're going to want to go in line with the light here, so let's just pull that up to about there. This is quite useful because it's showing us maybe a small problem with our setup here. We didn't have that lining up there properly. Okay, that's probably a bit better. Okay, so now that's really helped us get this kind of better in line. So let's pull these now to follow that line there. So obviously you can see the plans don't line up quite right, but we'll go with our side view on this one. Okay, let's have a quick check on that. So again, that's looking pretty nice. And we fixed another an issue we found with the door there. So let's go in now and just extrude this line out again. Ooh, looks like we've got an extra edge selected there. So extrude that out, go straight into move mode, pull that up, and we can see where that's supposed to line up on the plan there. So based off our previous line, it's not far away. Probably need to merge these as well, so I'm just going to merge them. It's really not actually looking too bad. Let's check this from the front view as well. So you might want to pull that down slightly. We can see this starts to angle down a little bit here as well. We'll just soften that edge off. We might need to soften this off as well, but if it won't soften off, no, that's fine. Okay, so we've got, at the moment we're doing pretty well. We've got a nicely quadded model. A few bits out of shape, but not too bad. It looks like we need a little bit of tweaking down here. We can tell by the smoothing, and a little tweak here as well, maybe. See if we can figure out from a view like that what's going on with that. So maybe that needs to come out this way a little bit more. So quite often you can tell that areas that need tweaking just by looking at the smoothing, but don't get too kind of obsessed with that, because it's not always a problem you can fix. So I'd say that's probably sticking out a bit much there, or it might just be a trick of the eye. Yeah, it does look like that. Okay, it's worth checking to see if that bit does pull in like that as well, I think. So I've got Photoshop on my other monitor, that's why that layer thing keeps popping up. And yeah, we can see that does indent like that. So one thing we definitely need here is just another loop along here. And looks like we've got some welding to do. So if ever you can't connect a really kind of obvious set of and a really obvious ring, it's because it's not welded. So just select it all, and we'll just go merge vertices and set this nice and low, and just hit apply. And you should find that that fixes most problems with that. There you go. You can see that's now nicely looping. Maybe if we pull that out a touch, but not this one here. So I'm just going to snap this to this edge here and see where that takes us. Maybe I'll just pull it out a bit like that. That's already pretty far back, so that might work okay. It's just to give us that extra bit of curvature. Make sure you do use all the kind of verts you added in though, because obviously this now gives us that slight extra bit of curvature here, and also gives us that line for the edge of the door. So if we just load up Photoshop again, you can see where the door actually ends. It's down here. That's that door line there. So when we look on our plans, yeah, that's kind of roughly where the door is. Just realised we haven't got that on this one here, so let's insert that here as well. And obviously what we're going to do is line that up to here. Make sure that lines up to there, and that one lines up pretty well already. And there we go. So that line has allowed us to put that curvature in, but also given us where the edge of the door is. If you want to, you could select that line in here and go harden edge, just to make it a little bit clearer where that edge of the door is. You can do the same on this loop here as well. It's not essential, but I'm going to soften that one. It's not essential, but it can kind of help you when you're modelling, so you know exactly like which line for the door. Okay, so the next thing we'll look at is just modelling in a little bit of this, and then we'll do part of the roof here. So this bit's obviously a little bit tricky, so we can see that line kind of coming up here. So we've got a couple of ways to approach this. We could add a loop going horizontally, although if we do that, that means we'll either need to end somewhere as a try. So you see, if we add another loop in here, that's going to come all the way around here as well. Or we could push some of these vertical lines back a bit and use them to do the shape. So I think the first thing we'll do is delete these out of here. Just so that we can then, if we select this whole lot here, and just extrude that out. And maybe we could use this as a base point here for making this. So maybe we'll try pulling this up here, because we're going to need a few more kind of points in this. Remember, one thing you can do is use the slide edge tool to slide this up, just to avoid changing the shape too much, and always have your top view on in this area here, so that we're not so that you're always checking that those lines, those nice areas we made, haven't been too badly messed up by whatever it is we do here. So maybe we'll pull this one up as well.